I'm gonna try to stop sending nasty emails. You know, I don't think it's helping my cause. The neighbor came over, and I was in the middle of. I was about to send another email. You know, to the attorney. The new attorney, right? The last one quit. She withdrew. The shrink, who's hired by the mother, apparently to give a very narrow and specific type of evaluation and recommend that I take drugs, like pharmaceutical drugs. Yikes. Who else is on the email? Somebody from the court. Apparently, there's someone who's assigned to my case. So I've just been firing off some pretty harsh emails because they stole my son, and it's not okay, right? We can never get that time back. My son is growing up. He's nearly 4 years old, and he's growing up without his biological father. And all of this is wrong. And if you've seen any videos that I've made, you know that there's a lot of red flags. Um, so I'm making this video instead of firing off a bunch of emails. Where I stand in my case right now is the judge canceled our June 25th appearance. I had filed motions, one motion to strike the mental health evaluation, another motion to compel all the documents, data, testing, methods, and communications related to the evaluation, right? I want to examine all of that information, see what kind of conversations took place. My reason for my motion to strike is because the uh, forensic psychologist, um, well, several things. She's hired by the mother after I told the court twice to have the mother have a mental health evaluation. I even suggested we have multiple evaluators for both parents so that the court could have a well-rounded opinion of the psyche of both parents. And the court instead said, nope, just use her. And oh, by the way, the mother can pick out the evaluator and pay for it. So there's no funny business going on there. I'm sure that's not a conflict of interest. Anyway, the the troll cunt psycho shrink said something to the effect of, I'm not doing anything to improve the situation. Like she had her judgment in there, like I need to do something to improve the situation, like I'm the one who's alienating my son from myself. Like she literally looks like one of those fucking, those troll things. I probably do too right now with the hair, but um anyway, so I thought that was biased. Obviously saying that I'm paranoid, but not articulating what I'm paranoid about. Like, what do I paranoia about? It's like the judge saying I talk about conspiracies. Can you articulate that, judge? What conspiracies am I talking about? Right? That haven't already been proven on paper or disclosed by your own fucking government. Or is it that you just don't like what I'm talking about? Or is it that you're just using the Martha Mitchell effect to silence people and make them sound like they're crazy without actually having an in-depth discussion about it? It worked a few years ago, but now people are getting a little hip to it. So people are going to need to articulate their accusations, right? Can't just go around saying shit, especially not in court orders, and expect it to hold up if you can't back up what you're saying, judge. What the fuck is that about? Which rules do you follow anyway? It doesn't seem like it's the Constitution. It doesn't seem like it's the Massachusetts general laws. Doesn't seem like it's the rules, the family court, right? Man, and they give such long titles to that shit too. It's like rules of uh, domestic relations procedure. I don't even know. It's just too long. Um, and then the courts obviously lie and say that they act under the best interest of the child standard, and that's obviously not the case. They just separate families and traumatize children, and traumatize parents, and they don't give a fuck about the child's best interests. I haven't seen my son other than 2 hours in a supervised visit in 2026. Today is June 19th. I'm getting sick of saying it. This is child abuse. So whatever the fuck the court says, they're just lying through their teeth. By the way, right? The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Which God are they referring to? And if they're talking about the whole truth, well, that's a lie too, because on nearly every appearance, consistently, almost without fail, the court doesn't want to hear me speak on the matter or topics related to the matter. So when I'm repeatedly shut down by the court from speaking or introducing evidence or showing documents that are related to the case, and the court is also asking me for the whole truth, well, I mean, do you even understand the fucking language that you're speaking? Do you understand the words that you're using? Because I've been in court for a year and a half and you haven't heard the whole truth once. So why are you asking me for it every time that I appear? So back to the 25th, motion to strike, motion to compel are going to be heard administratively. The judge gave me an opportunity to um, essentially file additional arguments as to why I feel the evaluation should be stricken from the record. I'm not going to do that. I made my argument. I wrote it out pretty clearly. She has it. If the motion to strike is denied for any reason, I believe that it's essentially legally proper for the judge to allow the motion to compel the data, documents, records, communications, transactions, whatever, that information for me to examine before I cross-examine the forensic psychologist. I believe that is proper legal procedure. I believe that if the judge does not, if for any reason the judge denies my motion to strike and she also denies my motion to compel, I believe that puts, the proceedings in a legal quandary because I have a right to examine all of that, as well as the psychologist in terms of her methods, procedure, and so on and so forth. I forget what law, but there's several. There's several that allow me access to health records and stuff like that. But I can't cite it off the top of my head. So that, again, that's going to be ruled on administratively on the 25th. And what hasn't been mentioned, and I can't speculate on this because the last round of orders didn't address it. I asked for a schedule of my son. I filed a motion to modify temporary orders. And the court didn't respond to that at all or address it. They didn't put it on the docket. They didn't acknowledge it in the orders. So logically, I would think the judge wants to look over the evaluation, these motions, make her decision there, and then rule on the motion to modify temporary orders, right, in terms of a schedule. That'd be my guess, but I don't want to guess on this. I haven't seen my son, and I don't see anyone making an effort to allow him to see his father. Like, no one's acknowledging that we've been separated and it's a problem. So, but you know what they want to spend a lot of focus on? They want to spend a lot of focus on me, right? And my mental health. That's what they want to focus on. Even after I filed a motion with the court to recenter the focus of the proceedings back to the child, because the court just goes around saying, oh, the child's best interest. Oh, really? Okay. So I filed a motion to recenter the focus back to my son because I'm not seeing him. And the court denied that. This was a few months ago. So really just child trafficking stuff. I don't know. We could talk about that, but that's in other videos too. My son is of the Mohegan tribe, and it very much appears to me like there's some funny business going on with Mohegan, given the fact that I was permabanned from there after asking a question via voicemail to the chief of Mohegan if they were trafficking kids. I just left a voicemail, right? Because I'm not seeing my son. There's been some red flags. I have questions. Permabanned. Got notes from lawyers and shit, you know? Shout out to Andrew Holding. So I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? Do we have a national epidemic, a fucking global epidemic, right, of child trafficking and child abuse, and no one's being arrested or investigated that should be at the higher levels of our society? Is that kind of what it looks like, given the fact that they still haven't released half of those files and no one's been properly or thoroughly looked at? So, you know, I'd like to say there's no overlap or connection there, but the fact of the matter is Marilyn Malerba is a former U.S. treasurer, and so is Larry Summers, right? I mean, whatever. You can draw parallels and connections wherever you want, but um, and I'm not trying to overstate anything either. I'm just looking at the patterns and the connections and the similarities and the coincidences. And you know, has your child ever tried to kiss your genitals? Probably not. That'd be my guess. Um, and I don't spend enough time with my kid for him to ever be exposed to anything like that. Nor, even if we spent every waking second together, you still wouldn't see any of that shit, right? So when that happens, uh, the only logical conclusion is that someone showed him that this behavior, right? He saw it somewhere, and the mother admitted to me uh, that my son sleeps in the same bed as them. And she also said to me when he was about 2 or so that her and her partner fool around while my son's in the same room. Now, she later said that she never said that. So that in and of itself is a huge red flag. Why were you saying one thing then and now you're saying something different now? Right? Anyway, that's the whole thing, is like they make you try to feel like you're crazy just for noticing shit and telling the truth. Um, and that's crazy. You know, when you gaslight someone for calling out bad behavior or a crime or something that's wrong, and you attack the person who's identifying the problem, uh, that kind of makes you either insane or you know exactly what you're doing to cover up the person's crime. And the fact that I'm not allowed to speak to my son, or the mother's not letting me have any access, right? I can't see him, I can't talk to him, and he's over 3.5 now. He'll be 4 in October, and he's talking more than ever, I'm sure. Um, yeah. So there are many concerns, and I'm just gonna keep going until the right thing is done. I, I don't have anything else, and you're all gonna help. You're all gonna you're all going to understand what's going on, and I believe that most people are good. And as soon as you see what's happening, like with the government overreach and separating families and the complete corruption, and they're trafficking kids, and they're eating children, and they're raping children, and they're doing all it's they're just they're horrible people, and I'm not saying that all of this is going on in my specific situation, right? I'm not I can't speculate on what I don't know about, but what I have seen concretely, right, is concerning. It's beyond concerning. And the fact that the Westfield Police Department won't do a wellness check on my son, and Detective Tchaikovsky won't respond to texts, or, no one's really being investigated. Lieutenant LaValle sounds like he might be on drugs. It's all very concerning behavior.